Did they just cut off? Hello and welcome back to Octane Adventures. This is the video you guys have patiently been waiting for. I know I've been talking about doing an overview on the brand new 2022 Can-Am Outlander 850 XMR. But if you've seen the previous videos, you'd know that I've been pretty busy. We've had a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of stuff happening all at once. But let's get into today's video. So first of all, I'd like to start this video off by saying thank you to Mike, Kevin, and Megan at Lockhart's Odyssey for getting me this new machine way ahead of schedule. This machine wasn't supposed to show up until March, and I've been told that it may show up in June, but as you can see, it came in January. We would have got this machine much sooner, but there were unforeseen circumstances that we had to push things a little further back. But anyways, let's get into what is new for this 2022 model. And realistically, there's not a whole lot. This is a Gen 2 chassis. First of all, you're going to get this desert tan color, which is standard on the 570, the 650, the 850, and the 1000 Outlanders and Renegades. But if you buy a 1000 Outlander or Renegade, you can choose from the liquid titanium and magma red color scheme, which is a premium automotive painted plastic and looks very good. And if I could have got it in that color, that's probably what I would have gone with. But I gotta say, this tan is growing on. Also new for 2022, you are going to get Can-Am's Visco 4-lock, fully lockable front differential, four-wheel drive system. Now, this system was first introduced back on the Neo Yellow editions of the Outlander 850 and the Outlander 1000 and Renegade 1000 XMR editions. Also, what you're going to get on your XMR, you're going to get these 30-inch ITP cryptid tires mounted on 14-inch aluminum rims. However, for some reason, these 30-inch cryptids measure to something like 29.5. What you're also going to get for 2022 are these Fox Podium 1.5 shocks. Also, what you're going to get on your Can-Am Outlander 850 XMR is your tri-mode DPS power steering system, which, by the way, when Visco 4-lock is activated, it activates a special mode in the power steering system which allows the ATV to still turn with ease even when the front differential is locked. What you're also going to get is this 850 Rotax V-twin engine producing 78 horsepower, controlled through Can-Am's ITC Intelligent Throttle Control System with varying throttle modes such as Eco Mode, Normal, and Sport, allowing different levels of power throughout the throttle throw. With the XMR package, you are also going to get a 3,500-pound Can-Am winch. Now, I've heard good things and I've heard bad things about these winches, but a recommendation would be, if you're picking up one of these units, put the winch in free spool, have a friend pull it out, and then rewind the entire winch, because a lot of winch failures happen because they're not wound properly from the factory, and the winch cable can bind up and then you short out the winch. Also, what you're going to get, factory rad relocate, which is very important for these machines, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. A big thing about the Outlander 850 XMR is the price point. If you're looking to get out into the mud, this is the best bang for your buck, and I'll tell you why. First of all, factory installed rad relocation, which is very important, especially when you're riding in the nastiest of mud. These radiators are pretty hard to clean when they're in the factory location. Not to mention these machines like to run hot, and I'll get into that a little later in the video. You get some pretty decent mud tires. I know a lot of people will say bad things about the cryptids, but I'll tell you this. They're good at many things, they're just not great at specific things. Plus, all your vent lines and your air intake and CVT exhaust are all run up right underneath the gauge pod, with your CVT intake right up here attached to the top of your radiator. That's pretty good. Not to mention Can-Am does a very good job at sealing out everything from the belt box to the differentials. Now, when you look at the price of this machine, unfortunately for the 22 year, Can-Am introduced a $400 commodity charge for the 850s and higher CC machines. The lower CCs, I think they were a $250 commodity charge. By the way, quick disclaimer, these are all Canadian prices because I'm Canadian. This machine, I did not pay what today's price is for it because I ordered it back in August. But even with today's price adjustment, this machine has gone up about $1,000. Maybe $1,400, but at a price of around $15,850 MSRP, this machine still gives you the best bang for your buck when it comes to horsepower and mud-ready capabilities. When you look at the price of a Can-Am Renegade 650, which retails for $15,800, you're better off to swing the extra cash and get the Outlander 850, because instead of 62 horsepower, you're getting 78 plus the rad relocate. The Outlander 650 XMR retails for $14,050, and you get 62 horsepower. So if you got the extra cash to swing, I would definitely go 850. Now if you're curious about the 1000s, of course, you're looking at about $2,000 more than the 850. If you're looking at an Outlander, of course. Now if you're looking at a Renegade, you're looking at about $20,000 Canadian. The MSRP on that machine is $19,999 before tax. Now is the part of the video where it goes from a bit of an overview into answering some questions. So personally, why did I choose this specific machine? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, price point. That was a big one. I picked this machine up. Well, I ordered this machine last year at an MSRP of $14,800. The Outlander XMR 850 was more than enough machine than what I needed. 78 horsepower and the ability to go through the deep mud and water and enough ground clearance to crawl over all the rock I need. This machine already unlocks so many new adventures that we're going on this year. I couldn't justify the extra $2,000 for an XMR Outlander 1000 with an extended chassis. However, if Can-Am for whatever reason did make a short chassis XMR 1000, that is the machine I would have bought, but they don't make it. And if I were to go with a 1000 XTP or a 1000 XXC, we would have probably had parts issues because of today's day and age when it comes to shipping and part availability. Not to mention the fact that it would have costed me an extra $2,000 off of the hop, and then I still would have had to relocate the rad and mess with the CVT exhaust. The fact that I could get an 850 XMR short frame right out of the crate ready to go was definitely a big selling point. We'll go back to the 1000 XTP. Back in 2019, that was the machine I was going to buy. However, as much as I've tried to stay out of the mud and water, as you've seen from the videos, we find ourselves in that a lot more times than not. So 1000 XTP was going to pose a few problems if I didn't have the extra cash to spend on relocating the radiator and extending the CVT exhaust. Plus, for the amount of times that I actually get out to ride, I couldn't justify the extra cash. And I did not want to go with a 1000 Renegade because, as I've previously stated, that is a $20,000 machine. Before taxes. Not including we have a 13% sales tax here in Ontario. Yeah, it's not nice. Now, the other thing about the Renegade is there's a lot less fender protection than the Outlander. And doing YouTube videos and stuff, I hate when I have to constantly clean off my GoPros, or I do something epic and then it's like, oh, the footage is ruined because the lens was covered in mud. Let's get on to the next part. Why did I go with Can-Am? Well, to be honest, and I don't think I'm really that biased. I may be biased, but who knows. Can-Am, frankly, make the best mud-ready machines. I know I could have gone with the Yamaha Grizzly, and I know I could have gone with a Polaris Sportsman Highlifter Edition. However, the Grizzly is lacking in horsepower. Yamaha, I know you have a parallel twin engine. Stuff that thing in the Grizzly. As for the Polaris, I did not like how the gearing was set up in them. I did not like how the fans were set up in them. And I did not like the fact that the Highlifter Edition is still using the old body style. So, of course, I went with the Can-Am. Is the Can-Am perfect? No, it is not. And I'll tell you why. These Rotax V-twin engines run lean from the factory, and they do this in order to meet emissions standards. Anybody who knows anything about engines, you run it on lean too long, it's gonna blow up. Which brings me into the next segment. Must-have mods. If you're going Can-Am, in my opinion, these are some must-have mods. This applies to if you're going to be playing in water or mud. Actually, even if you're doing hardcore trail ripping. So let's get into the first thing. The first thing that you should do to your brand new Can-Am. Put an exhaust system on it. Whether it's just a slip-on, whether it's the full system with the header pipe, and do either a fuel optimizer or ECM flash programmer. When you install an aftermarket exhaust and install a fuel optimizer or an ECM flash, you are going to significantly lower the operating temperatures of this machine. That's going to prolong your engine life, and it's going to sound a lot cooler. Now, if you're going the fuel optimizer route, you're not going to see big horsepower gains. People think they can throw a pipe on with an RJWC fuel tuner or a bomb fuel tuner or whatever. They're all made by Dobet. All that does is it remaps the ECM for your low range, your mid range, and your high range. The only way you're going to see actual horsepower gains is if you go the ECM flash route and have somebody either dyno tune it, like Andy Brown, or you get a DynoJet tuner and you install one of their tunes or a Motorsports Addicts tunes or some other tune, then you will see horsepower gains. At the end of the day, it comes down to do you really care that much about your warranty? Because there are certain dealerships that will warranty certain things and certain dealerships that will avoid other things, like the plague. The next must-have mod, I will cut right to it. If you are playing in the water, you gotta do something about that factory airbox seal. It's not a seal. It's a chintzy piece of foam that is not watertight whatsoever. If you get water up to here, you're gonna have a bad day. You've got several options to fix this. First of all, you could go the easy route and get yourself an RJWC billet aluminum airbox cover with waterproof gasket, or custom moto quad. And they will also do a custom etching of your channel logo or whatever you want, if you're into that kind of thing. Plus, they also sell just the gasket if you're fine and you don't need the fancy stuff. But I totally recommend doing something about that, because that is the fastest way you are going to swamp your ATV. The next thing, if you're playing in deep water, you gotta extend the snorkels. I'm sorry to say it, but they're not perfect. As I stated previously, your CVT intake is right under here. Your air intake and CVT exhaust are under here. Now, you can go one of two routes. First of all, you can go the easy route and install a Can-Am factory snorkel, which in my opinion, looks the best. I'm gonna gripe about that now for a minute. The Can-Am factory snorkel only extends your air intake. So if you go deep, you're still going to get water in the clutch cover. Your belt's going to get wet, you're going to have issues, you're going to have to drain it. But you're not going to have to rebuild your engine. Option number 2, you get an aftermarket kit to raise your snorkels. And then you raise your intake, your CVT intake, and your CVT exhaust. Now let me complain about that for a minute. If you buy a kit, for example, one from Warrior, you've now got snorkels that stick up here, right in your face. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like snorkels in my face when I'm sitting down on my ATV. Not to mention, there's nothing really stabilizing them, so they just kind of shake around all the time, and that drives me nuts. But I suppose at the end of the day, if you're going to use your ATV as a submarine, it's better to have that and deal with them shaking around than you swamping your $20,000 ATV. So, let's continue on with things I recommend you do to your ATV. And the next one is for you Canadians like me, who do a lot of riding in the Canadian Shield. This Outlander is equipped with full central aluminum skid plates. Not only will this protect the machine a lot better than that piece of plastic, it adds a little more structural rigidity to the frame, which is kind of important when you're producing 78 to 91 horsepower. Now, things that I've done to my machine specifically. I have, as you guys have heard in the videos, I have installed an RJWC crossflow exhaust. This is just a slip-on. It does not include the header pipe. I installed that along with an RJWC fuel optimizer to make this machine run cooler and get rid of that lean condition. Because I don't know about you guys, but after you spend a lot of money on a brand new ATV, the last thing you want is it to blow up. So we got that out of the way. Yes, I could have gone crazy with like an Apex dual exhaust or an SLG. Who knows? Maybe that will come in the future. But anyways, I recommend you guys do an exhaust on the ATV. Next, I did full central skid plates to protect the underside of this ATV. I also installed these handguards because in the past I've always ripped my knuckles to, you guys can use your imagination, because I never wore gloves while riding. And then what I have not done to the quad, which is coming very soon, is an RJWC airbox cover, because this thing may go a little deep before I get snorkels installed on it. So that's just a little extra insurance. Okay guys, for the extra 220 bucks Canadian, it's worth it. Just bite the bullet and do it. Now that's the stuff I've done to the ATV. But we're not done. We've got some things planned and are coming in the very near future. So I think we need a little more tan and black color matched parts. Handlebar risers, because even though this thing has a fairly comfortable seat, I find myself standing up on it while riding quite a bit. I think the headlights need a little extra bling. Those may or may not be on the way already. And then of course, we have the snorkels. As for down the line, maybe we will try to improve the horsepower, and maybe we will mess with some things in behind here. But for now, other than the RJWC Crossflow and the RJWC Fuel Tuner, we're gonna rock this thing pretty close to stock and see what we can really do. As for these, well, we may need a more trail-worthy set, because we've got big things planned this year. And I'm very determined to make sure they happen one way or another. So, this is going to conclude my overview of the 2022 Can-Am Outlander 850 XMR. Also, disclaimer, I'm not trying to convert anybody to Can-Am. If you've watched the channel in the past, you know that I have several Honda 3-wheelers. I have a Yamaha Big Bear. I purely made this video to help out the people who are considering one of these machines. Don't worry, the old machines aren't going anywhere, because they're how I started this channel, and they're how I'm going to continue this channel. This machine is just one more piece of the Octane Adventures puzzle. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.